A fight I've had circled on my calendar since I found out about it. We have the Warrior, Khalid Taha. He's going to be taking on Sergey Morozov. And Matt, we've had a lot of fighters coming out of Kazakhstan lately that have had a lot of success in the UFC. I mean, you can go up and down the roster. It could be Shavkat Rakhmonov. It could be Damir Ismagulov. Sergey Morozov is one of those guys, and it's just a matter of time before he picks up his first win. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't in his first fight. He was a huge underdog against Umar Nurmagomedov. They had trained in the past together. If you look at it, it is a master sport in MMA for Sergey Morozov, a guy that will throw a nice kick to the body. Will throw in combination. Pumps a nice jab out there. Loves the overhand right. And he can get caught a little bit in some of those wrestling transitions, but by and large has some pretty good jiu-jitsu in his back pocket. He is going to be taking on a guy that fights in somewhat a similar way in Khalid Taha coming up this weekend, and I can't wait for it.
It should be a really fun fight. For Sergey Morozov, the real question comes down to, okay, you might not be as good as Umar Nurmagomedov, but how good are you? And listen, most guys in this division probably aren't as good as Nurmagomedov, and I don't care what you think about what his ceiling is, but he really is just a unique combination of, like, speed, power, and wrestling that just you don't really see at the bantamweight division other than, like, Merab Dvalishvili. So for Sergey Morozov, it will be interesting to see how does his power translate in this fight, because we saw him land to certain effect on Umar, but he was never really able to get more than one shot going at a time, and that's really the question for Morozov moving forward. He has good striking and he has good power, but the output leaves something to be desired, and he's one of those fighters where while you're watching, it's just so easy to tell. Like, if you just threw like one punch more per round, not to throw like an exact number on it, but if he could just have slightly higher uptick in his volume, then I really do think he'd offer a much tougher test for a lot of guys in this division, because even if you just look at the Umar Nurmagomedov fight, he does have a little bit of success in that. I understand he pretty much gets dealt with in the grappling. I can't really defend that, but hey, it's going to happen. You're going to get grappled by Nurmagomedov. The success that he did have, though, he has a really good eye for counter shots on the feet, and DC brings it up in the commentary. Every time Nurmagomedov threw a kick, the second his foot came off the mat, Morozov would answer with a punch, and that is really important. Just having eyes like that, it's kind of similar to having like court vision in NBA. It might not always equate assists, but it's just a good thing to have. And the fact that he is a very seasoned counter striker should come into effect against a guy like Khalid Taha, who can leave himself open on the feet.
And when I was looking into Sergey Morozov coming into this one, you look at it on the socials, you can find him training a little bit out of Kazakhstan, but also training in South Florida for the past number of weeks, getting ready for this one. There was a snapshot of Rakhmonov and Morozov, and I put 3 and 3 together, made 6, and found his Instagram page after a little bit of sleuthing. But you do like to see that out of Morozov. And for Khalid Taha, this is a guy that so far in the UFC, it's weird, right? Like, he fought Narimani, he loses the decision. Narimani's very well rounded. He's got the wrestling in his back pocket. He finishes Boston Solomon, who it was like, hey, Boston, when are we making the UFC debut? And then it was like, see you later. And he had that weird fight back on the lower levels with LFA. He fights Bruno Silva at Marvel Stadium, and he looks amazing in that fight. And he outclassed him. He's the bigger fighter, you can tell. But then that ends up, some USADA issues.
Juicy boy.
So he takes on Hani Barcelos in his last fight. And you might look at that fight, and you might see the 30-27s out there. I'll give you the numbers. Dave Hagen, 30-27. Chris Lee, 30-27. Ron McCarthy, 30-27. Craig Allen, maybe a 30-25.
There was at least one 10-8 round.
There was at least one 10-8 round. Multiples on MMA decision scored at 30-26 for Barcelos. But it earned fight of the night on the card. But it was more like a Calvin Kattar, Max Holloway, or Sean O'Malley and Chris Moutinho fight of the night than it was some impressive all of knock him out, drag him out type of war. Taha got beat pillar to post in that fight. So for me, it really is a weird snapshot of his career. And if you go back through it, I do like the taekwondo that he has in his back pocket. Some of the wins, maybe not against the greatest level of competition. I mean, you can look at it for Morozov as well. He had the fights against Reddinghouse that were a lot of fun if you want to go back and watch them. A great one against Alexander Osatrov before that. And even if you go back down through, his last loss before Nurmagomedov 2018, where he fought one really tough out in Movsar Evloev. So definitely the level of competition sides with Sergey Morozov. It's just you don't necessarily love to see what you did in that Nurmagomedov fight where he was a huge underdog. And even in that fight in the first round, he got taken down. Nurmagomedov had his back with a crazy take. He was able to get out of it and get the fight back up to his feet. Will he be able to do that against a guy like Taha, who is so well-rounded, or we have seen the well-roundedness out of him? I don't know. That's what makes this fight so much fun. And when I look at the odds, that's where I'm ever so slightly tempted to go with the underdog. I mean, Taha opened to minus 150, he's a minus 165. Morozov opened to plus 130. He's about a plus 136 on best fight odds. And out of the total picks on Tapology, it's a surprise to me as it is to you, 977 the total votes. 57% Morozov, 83% by decision. 43% have Taha, 61% by decision. I honestly like Sergey Morozov by decision in this fight.
Here's the thing. I will admit, the best version of Khalid Taha would pose quite a few issues for Sergey Morozov. If you do combine the wrestling and the ground and pound of Khalid Taha, along with this not great, but I would say very good top position, then there is a recipe there to beat a guy like Sergey Morozov. We haven't seen that version of Khalid Taha in a long time. Like, you gotta remember, when Adesanya fought Whittaker, that was years ago now. Like, it's not as recent as I tend to think it is, so I do kind of like Morozov as the underdog in this fight.
Matt, both of us going with the former M1 champ in Sergey Morozov. Let us know if we're absolutely nuts down below in the comments section. But I am really looking forward to this fight. And the lightweight chart topper, you've got Islam Makhachev taking on Thiago Moises at lightweight. Up the top, you're not going to want to miss that. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. As we always say, let's get into it.